usually people look for areas, well, where the key strategic security interests can be harmonized. So where could the US respect Iranian? What does Iran have to respect from the US or Israel? And if there's areas it can't be harmonized, then look for areas, ways to manage the competition. If none of this is possible, then of course war is an option. That's why I often like talking to people from the intelligence community. At least they have uh, the maturity to sit down with the other side, to appreciate their politics, their
Yeah.
traditions, cultures, all of this. Exactly because you don't hate opponents. You have to be able to chart out the possibility of how far diplomacy can go before you go down the path of war. The problem, I think, is the drooling idiots, which are our politicians, our journalists. It's just the hatred and the contempt for the other side. It's so blinding that as you said now with Iran, the assumption that they're just these bad guys always coming to get us, and anyone who disagrees with that, they're either naive or they're just in their pockets of the Ayatollahs. This kind of extremist radical thinking, it's really very destructive. I don't know where it's coming from though, within the West. If it's just um, something left over from hegemony that all adversaries have to be vilified, never understood. It's very strange. We didn't used to be like this. We used to be able to sit down and appreciate the other side. Again, not hating adversaries. But sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's a combination of two things. The Zionist lobby, starting from the early 70s, has been very, so 50 years of propaganda to persuade the United States that Iran in particular is the biggest Islamic threat. And what I find fascinating, and I saw this firsthand because right after 9/11, I'd been working with the U.S. Military Special Operations Command and Joint JSOC, SOCOM. And the level of ignorance about Sunni Islam vice Shia Islam was incredible. They had no, one Muslim same as another Muslim. And then when you tried to explain that, particularly in Iran's case, Iran had been repeatedly attacked by these Muslim extremists that that are Sunni. They're based in the Wahhabi sect out of Pakistan. They're known as the Deobandis. But for many years, Iran was fighting those very Islamic extremists that we in the United States claim attacked us on 9/11. So right off the bat, that should have made us a natural ally of Iran. But then we got this deep, dark undercurrent where the CIA had been funding and enabling many of these radical Sunni groups during the war in Afghanistan against the Soviets, and had developed relationships and contacts, and then continued to use them. And to the point that we deployed them in the Second Chechen War against Russia. And we saw it recently with al-Jilani. I mean, bona fide, come out of al-Qaeda, part of ISIS, then from ISIS to al-Nusra, and then from al-Nusra, he sets up his own organization. And he's getting hugs in the White House, in the Oval Office, for God's sake. So, we create this simple narrative about Muslim bad, U.S. good. And then we put, Iran into the bad category without actually understanding how they have been fighting against the very Islamic extremism that we claim that we oppose. And yet, through my old organization, fund and enable those very extremists. I mean, it's just, that's where you step back and realize the world's not as we're told that it is.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that could have been done after the September 11 attacks. People often forget that the first, I think, foreign leader to call Bush was President Putin, and essentially saying, well, we can cooperate with you. Let's build a partnership on this. And that was a genuine idea, that as long as all relations between the US and Russia were focused on the redivision of Europe through NATO expansion, everything will always be zero sum. But they thought we also have problem with this fundamentalist. So maybe this can be an opportunity to essentially overcome the legacy of the Cold War and become profound partners. That was not taken. And as you said, the same with Iran. They actually fought against the same people. The Iranians also approached the United States, nothing. Instead, we forward, what is it now, 25 years, and instead we, not just the United States, but the political West, allied itself with Al-Qaeda in Syria. I mean, you couldn't make it up. What are we doing here? The paths not taken are just quite extraordinary. But on this path to war now against Iran, as that seems to be, well, that's where we're heading. What weapons have the U.S. assembled? Do you have any clear overview in terms of, because it doesn't look like this is just going for another 10-day war, that they need an incredible amount of not just air defenses, but also offensive capabilities if they're going to go after a massive adversary like Iran.
I'm told that we've deployed a very large number of F-35 fighter bombers to the region. Now, you have the F-35C that operates off of the aircraft carrier, but in addition to that, you have other F-35s that are land-based, that are not going off of carriers. And those are used to try to what's called SEAD, S-E-A-D, suppression of enemy air defense. If we're ever going to talk military stuff, you got to use acronyms because that's all they use. But the SEAD mission is such. I did get a message from one of my readers that who is in Yerevan, Armenia, and said that there is a huge U.S. presence, huge buildup of U.S. C-17s and other aircraft there. Didn't mention if any personnel had disembarked. So the United States is moving forces into the region, but they're doing so on the assumption that Iran's not going to be able to detect, much less stop, these aircraft. The F-35 is known as a stealth plane. The problem is the Chinese reportedly have deployed a radar that is specifically designed to detect stealth aircraft. So this thing is wading into very, very dangerous waters, because it's not just Iran that's standing up and say, okay, we're going to fight back. During the 12-day war, they could have bombed all of the U.S. bases. There are at least 10 to 12 different bases scattered from Qatar up to Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, into Iraq, Syria. But they didn't touch them until the very end, where Trump got the bomb and, quote, obliterate Fordo, and then Iran struck a radar station at Al Udeid Air Force Base in Qatar. Then it was over. That's not going to be the case this time. You've already had the Shia throughout the region, particularly in Iraq, rise up and declare that they will go on a full attack against U.S. interests, U.S. personnel. So this could rapidly get out of control. And the ability, I believe, Iran has the ability to inflict such devastation on Israel. They'll stay away from Jerusalem, but they will destroy Haifa and Tel Aviv. And in a way that Israel has never, Israel got hit last time in a way it never been hit before. This time will be much, much worse. And the reliance upon THAAD or Patriot or Golden Dome or Iron Dome, they won't work. Iran's got too many missiles to overwhelm and deplete the air defense systems first and foremost, but they also have missiles capable of traveling at hypersonic speeds and being maneuvered which makes it impossible for them to be shot down by those three systems.
Yeah, I don't like it when there's too much unpredictability at stake here, but this is what I mean. The United States doesn't know exactly what Iran has. All they know is that the Israelis are warning them that Iran is being able to replenish most of the things they either fired off or lost during the last war. But if we add to this, I think the Russians, as you said, and the Chinese know that this war will not be a short one like the other. It will be much more brutal and prolonged. So I think that they will also find ways of assisting, even if it's just offering intelligence, some radars which can detect, well, better than the Israelis. I mean, in any way they can help with weapons, short of course, engaging any direct shooting war with the United States.
Yeah.
But with all this unpredictability, it's still very strange that the US is willing to go forth with this. I mean, there's been war games in the past which haven't turned out very well. So the decision to still go forth with this, I mean, this is the only almost source of optimism I have, that it seems too crazy to actually that they actually will go through with this. But
Yeah.
what is, yeah.
Well, no, I was just going to say that. So, unlike what happened on June 13th, 2025, that 12-day war, and then this latest attempt at sparking a color revolution that started on December 28th and lasted until roughly January 10th, there were primarily Mossad intelligence assets on the ground in Iran. They played a critical role, especially during the 12-day war, of helping to destroy some air defense systems, as well as laser guide weapons in on them. To my knowledge, Israel was not flying aircraft in and over Iran. Israel wasn't flying that aircraft in and over Iran during the 12-day war. They were still using standoff. Well, those intelligence networks now, I think, have been completely compromised through what these Iranians discovered last year, and then what they've done this time, tracking with the Starlink terminals. So you start right there, that they've got less intelligence capability on the ground. In fact, they're more blind now than they ever have been. But then also we've got the record of the United States with its carrier task force or carrier strike group in the Red Sea last March, and now Operation Rough Rider. So in that operation, the Navy was given the specific task of establishing freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. That meant a ship could sail wherever it wanted to go without being harassed or sunk or attacked, and to degrade the offensive capability of the Houthis, as well as to degrade their relationship and support from Iran. Those were the three missions. And to do that, at one point, there was one aircraft carrier arrived and then a second one. So you had two aircraft carriers, and each of them they had five destroyers, well, four destroyers and a cruiser. And the purpose of those ships is they provide a defensive screen. They have air defense missiles, usually about 100 per boat, per ship. And they were to be fired at incoming Houthi missiles. Well, when we look at what we've got off the coast of Iran right now, we got one carrier, okay? So we got half of what we had in the Red Sea, and instead of, a total of 5 ships capable of air defense, we only have 3. And what makes it even a weaker situation is each of those, the 3 destroyers, instead of having a full complement of, like, say, 100 air defense missiles in these vertical launch system cells, and just imagine these are like tubes put together. They're in the deck of the ship. The missile goes in, and missile fires out. Well, instead of having a full complement of 100, they've got only half, 50 to 60. The rest are with Tomahawk cruise missiles. Now, you say, oh, well, they could fire those Tomahawk cruise missiles with GPS. My understanding, though, is those ships are staying 1,000 miles off the coast of Iran because Iran has drones and anti-ship missiles that can travel more than 1,000 miles. And what's the range of a Tomahawk? 1,000 miles. So if they fire them off from, see, it's going to barely reach the beaches. It's not like you can travel anywhere at once in Iran. So when you're stepping back and looking at this militarily, you got to say, based upon the situation in the Red Sea, where the United States had every military advantage over the Houthis. Houthis didn't have an air force. Houthis had a limited missile supply. They didn't have an air defense system at all. And yet we failed. We completely failed to stop them from interfering with ships that they wanted to attack. And so now we're going up against Iran, who has a modern air force. They have modern air defense systems that have been supplemented by Russia and China. They have an incredible array of ballistic missiles and cruise missiles that are buried underground cities that are well protected. They can't be destroyed from just a Tomahawk cruise missile, as an example. And so we're going to get into that fight. And like I said, I share your puzzlement. What the hell are they thinking?